Okay, now I'm on. We can
I've
hear
got
him.
6 more minutes.
Wait, what are you making? What food are you making? I'm actually curious.
The,
What?
the
Oh,
samosas.
samosas. Okay, I thought you were making
Yeah, I'm just
pierogies.
eating. They were in a deep freezer, so it takes a while to reheat them.
Ah, okay. So,
And I reheat on low heat so as not to burn them.
mm,
So like 300, 325.
gotta make them perfect. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, friends. We are here. Um, this has been a fuck of a week. I don't know about everybody else, but this has been horrible. Hi, Craig. How are you? Um, I am just ready for 2020 to be over. I have had enough. I don't know. How are you guys feeling? How's your week been, my friends?
Good
I
evening.
don't know anything.
Because you've got Chrono Katie under the FFXV.
Yeah, I'll talk about that in a sec.
Very long week.
Very long. I feel like this week has just been fucking horrible. I don't know. I think
It's
it's.
been
Go ahead.
it's been a fast week or a quick week for me, but I pretty much work till midnight every day this week.
Oh,
Yeah,
Well,
so pretty stressful week.
oh God. What about
I've
you?
been on leave.
Oh, you've
I've
been on leave.
leave. I've been on leave for 4 days, except yesterday, the day I wanted off. My birthday.
Oh yeah, it was your birthday. Oh my God, I've like
Yes.
lost track of my days. Happy birthday, Drowned.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
How old are
Yeah.
you? How old are you now?
I am 39.
Whoa. How do you feel about that?
Happy birthday.
Well, I'm 40 next year, so therefore, I think that answers that question, really.
Oh God. Well, you have one more year in your 30s. You're good. But happy birthday. What did you do for your birthday?
Well, mostly, I collaborated with Words, and we basically did a stream last night. The first of which was attempting to play some of The Last of Us 2 blindfolded. Because
Oh my
the
gosh.
accessibility options support me to do that. I spent most of the time in a tree. Then
Nice.
we played Streets of Rage 4 for a bit and kind of gave up when we couldn't get past all the levels, even though we've finished it on the same difficulty before, but neither of us were just being any good at it last night. And then we played Fall Guys.
Oh, that's awesome. I've been loving Fall Guys, but yeah, I was wondering why you were streaming so early. I was like, doesn't he have to work? I was like, maybe he's just like, fuck it. But that's awesome, though. I'm glad you had a good birthday. So today we have Drowned with us because Drowned read the book that we are gonna kind of talk about Final Fantasy 15. So we're mostly gonna be talking about just Final Fantasy 15 in general, this book that just came out. So I finished it. I have a lot of feelings about this book. Drowned also read it, and Drowned, you liked it, unlike me. So it's going to be interesting to hear your kind of thoughts on it.
I mean, I liked it. I mean, it's not a stellar piece of fiction.
Get your popcorn ready, folks.
It's enjoyable. I mean, there's at least one bit I felt was fairly underwhelming. There's at least one character I thought was pretty pointless.
Right.
Overall, I kind of enjoyed it. The first, obviously, it's 4 parts, but I guess we're going to get to that in a bit.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the game first, and then we're going to go into the book, because the book really did change a lot about the game. Yeah, it's just a mess. By the way, one sec. I need to check my mic, actually. I just realized I was not... One second. Sorry. Oh, no, I'm good. Okay, my mic was good. I just had a moment. Anyways, yeah, so I just kind of wanted to start with kind of our thoughts about the game, because this game I've noticed has a lot of push and pull, I would say. So I personally like the game. It's not my favorite Final Fantasy. It was for a while until I kind of like unpacked it, and then I was like, kind of incomplete. I don't know. I'm going to start with Doctur, because Doctur, you were kind of afraid. Not afraid. You were just kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to add too much with this conversation. But you did play the game. What did you think of it?
I played not a lot of the game. Because I did not like it.
And why didn't you like it, though?
Okay, so there's some really little stupid nitpicky things that just made me angry, and so I stopped. And one of the first things that I hated, this is going to sound so nitpicky, is when you ran out of gas for the first time in your car and you have to push it, and you don't even get to really steer it. It just kind of goes in a path that's kind of hard to control, and it's just, for lack of a better word, shitty. So it just felt like a really tedious game off the beginning, and I just couldn't get into it. So after, I don't know, probably like 4 hours of gameplay, maybe, I just was like, okay, I can't do it. Maybe I'll come back to it later. However, I would say that I am willing to give it another shot soon, just because I have heard multiple times that a lot of the DLCs do help a lot with like, because I've heard a lot of the complaints that I've heard personally were about like storyline just like kind of not being cohesive and like large chunks kind of missing from what you know is going on. So I don't know, maybe the DLCs add a lot and I can get into it, and maybe the car pushing is better. So
It's I guess I haven't played. Yeah, I remember running out of gas in the middle of the fucking world and having to push my car, and it took forever.
Bad feature.
Oh, and then I like was having flashbacks of when that happened to me, and I was like, I can't cope with this game.
I just want to know, are you trying to tell me Cindy didn't have a tow truck somewhere at the garage she works at?
That's a good
Yeah,
one.
she does.
She does have one?
Actually, one of the options once you at certain points, if the car runs out, you literally can bring Cindy up. And
Wait, when
God.
was that new? Because I don't remember. I mean, I played it when it first came
in the
out.
original. I mean, I don't recall actually getting. I remember maybe once had the point when the car was out of fuel, but yeah, there are options where she'll bring the car to you. Or, yeah.
I don't remember that. Again,
That's in the original. That's in the initial release. That's not something I did later.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, because I always had to push my damn car, and I was like, so I was like really weird about gas. Anyways, Drowned, you played the game, and I think you've played more than us because you have played the DLCs. I haven't played all of the DLCs, but yeah, you had some thoughts.
So I've been through it twice.
Mm-hmm.
So I played it obviously before I got into streaming, and then it was one of the games I was where effectively from like the last sort of section of last year up until April time, where I was idiotically switching between doing Death Stranding, Final Fantasy 15, Judgment on a Sunday, and that took ages. But 15, yeah, that was me replaying it on New Game Plus, and something I mentioned on when we did the Chrono Trigger podcast was the New Game Plus in 15 is just hilariously unbalanced.
Oh yeah, I bet.
like in Chrono Trigger, it's excusable. It's like the first time we did it. Final Fantasy 15, 20 years later, like they don't up the scale of any of the enemies at all, and everything is just the only things that are challenging in a way are simply the points when the combat can be just RC anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I replayed it. I did all the DLC. I'd played Gladio and Prompto, and I'd not played Ignis and Arden when I did on the stream. And obviously there was some of the new content as well.
Right. Okay.
Which wasn't in the game, which they've added through patches and the collaborations and stuff like that.
Right.
Like the 14 the collaboration with 14 and whatever that mobile game is.
Oh, what is it called? Shit.
I can't remember. Mostly I just remember the fact that the character in it is voiced by Ashley Birch.
Yeah, because it was like a chibi one, or a chibi one.
Yeah.
So I've never played that either. I think you even asked in Discord, has anyone played the mobile game? And no one responded.
There is a chibi mobile port of 15.
Oh.
And then there's whatever this game was that they did the crossover with. I can't remember what it's called at all.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's whenever you get a Malmon thicket, you'll walk past something that basically just goes hiso every time. Even if you've completed it, because when you complete it, it boots you back out to the main menu. It doesn't return you to the game.
Oh dear.
It's a bit of an odd choice, really. But
what, Vanessa?
Drowned, the game that you're talking about, is that the mobile game with the trailer, and then there's this like super... Wait, was it... Shit, what's her name? Kate something. She's like supermodel actress, and she's like wearing this dress, and she's supposed to be like the Oracle, and she's like walking up to you in the trailer, and then in the end she's like, would you fight for me? Is that the mobile game you're talking about?
I think I remember that trailer.
No, but there is, well, I mean, the mobile game is on Switch. I can grab the picture actually. The mobile, it's basically a mobile port, and it's on Switch as well. The only reason I've not got it and played it is because it's like £30. It's like, yeah, that's a bit too expensive for something, really.
Yeah, that is expensive.
Last one. But the Kate Moss thing's interesting because obviously our Luna's dress was actually designed by Vivienne Westwood.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Damn, they got the real designers for this game. Like, that's insane. I'm gonna go ahead and ask Vanessa first because Shadow might be getting his food. But Vanessa, did you play 15 and what were your thoughts?
Oh, I played all of 15. I didn't make it to the Arden DLC though.
Oh,
But I
you
watched
didn't.
No, I watched like the little anime episode that they released leading up to it, and then when it came out, I was gonna download it, and then I didn't because I do shit like that where I just space stuff. But I played the entire game. I loved it, even though it wasn't like a complete game. I still thought it was great. I loved like the little nods to other Final Fantasies. Like if you're out in the world and you're exploring, you can see they have like a whole billboard for like Benora white apples, and I had just finished playing Crisis Core for like the 18th time, so that hit home with me. I don't know, just a stupid billboard.
Nice. It's just nice to see that stuff.
Yeah, it was super nice. It was kind of like nostalgic.
Wait 1 sec, Vanessa. I just want to thank Game Boyle for coming in and giving us a follow, but continue. Sorry.
Oh no, it's okay. Like shout out to Game Boyle. Thank you. I don't know. I think the only part that sucked for me was I remember there was like this one night when I was playing and you get to Altissia, and then from there I feel like the game just gets progressively sadder.
Yeah.
And sadder. So I was really happy that.
That's
Yeah,
that's
go
thing
ahead.
that I'll interrupt. So
no,
yeah,
you're
the
fine.
bit after you get to Altissia is where the game gets. I find it interesting. The game is very much kind of an opposite to 13 in a way, in the fact that 13 is very, very linear up until a certain point, and 15 is very, very open until a certain point, and then it becomes very linear. I think a lot of the story is very, very good after that point in Altissia, but it's just get on the train, get off the train. That's about it, really.
Yeah, it definitely has. We'll talk about kind of the 13 correlation in a minute, because that is a good point you bring up that I forgot to put in our notes, actually, that I thought of when I was doing something. But last person, or wait, no, Vanessa, so was that all your thoughts on the game before I move on to Shadow?
No, that's all good.
Okay, Shadow, are you there, and what did you think?
I'm here. I played it for about an hour.
Oh no!
I like what I've played so far, but like, it's in the backlog, unfortunately.
Oh no. Okay.
Because I still have to finish the complete saga for 13, so I didn't want to get too far into 15 until I, really got through with 13.
Oh man. Yeah, 13. I love 13.
But I mean, bro, road trip. Like, I feel like I want to be on a road trip with you guys because I did watch some videos about the game. Nothing spoiler-heavy, but just to see more than what I actually played, and I was just like, I want to be on a road trip with the crew.
I know. I love the boy band. They call them the boy band. The boy band kind of.
Yeah. My description of it once was it's a stag do gone very, very wrong.
Yes, you did say that, and I love that description. Anyways, apart from kind of what we thought, we did have a couple tweets from a tweet that I put out. So DJ Cobra said, I enjoyed 15 at launch, even though it was a bit rough around the edges, and I hate that it took DLCs and a paid update to polish the experience. We're going to talk about that because I have a big problem with that. A big problem with the paid experience. And then Dave Against the Machine says it's a good game, but too much focus on open world subquests and not enough on the story. It felt more like a Western RPG than a JRPG. Arden was a fine villain, though, which I think we can all agree with.
Wait, so I have a question. Being that I didn't really play too much and I played it at launch, should I not update the game so I can get also that bad experience? How should I be playing?
Really, it's not really a bad experience though in
terms
of that point. But it's more. I mean, we'll get to it, I suppose.
No, go ahead and
the DLC. There's Episode Gladio, Prompto, and Ignis, and then there's the Arden one. The Arden one is a different thing in itself. But those three basically flesh out Pitsum's story.
How do I access them in the game? Given that
they're
I paid in the beginning,
they're off the main menu and they're paid. I mean, they are paid DLC. So
yeah.
Yeah. So I think I have all of them because I had the the
Kingsglaive
edition or something, and then I had to buy the Arden one. Maybe a couple of weeks ago, it was on sale.
Yeah, that might be the case. As the
Royal. Is there a specific order to start playing them, or should I go through the story first?
They are. Gladio's the first one. then you've got Prompt. Well, in theory, Gladio's the first one, then technically Ignis is the second one, but you don't want to play the Ignis one second, you probably want to play the Ignis one after you've actually finished the game.
I was going to say all of them, I feel like, are good after you play the game. Cause...
Yeah.
Okay, so I should still play the main game first.
I would say only the Gladio one, really, because the Prompto one also, while it fleshes out what happens to him at a certain point, it's also very much hinged around a reveal regarding Prompto. That is
and what
very,
happens
very
to
late
my
in the game.
progress? Like, let's say I play the Gladio one first, and then I play through the, like, what happened? Like, what my stats, my characters and stuff.
It doesn't
my
matter.
Abilities.
It
They're
doesn't.
the same, even if you're playing it on New Game Plus.
Yeah.
With your characters
that's cool.
fully maxed out. The stats of the characters in the DLC are like just what they need to be for the DLC.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. I mean, personally, I played the whole game because I played it as it came out, and then I played the DLCs. I feel like you don't need to do it immediately, but it's kind of just preference. But I personally got more out of it when I played it later. I feel like if you go back and play them when it happens, like when it's how do I explain? It's a really complicated game. When you play it,
confusing shit.
Yeah, it's just confusing. But honestly, to do it kind of like the easiest, and you can still do it this way, and you won't lose the experience. Play the game, then play the DLCs. But it's hard. It's definitely a hard one. Anyways, and then we had Craig said I played the Platinum main game. I liked a lot of the gameplay features, but it would need a replay to try to follow the story. Agree. The story did change a lot, and that's kind of something that is really bothersome to people who played it originally.
Actually, one question. Of the people that have played it, did you actually bother doing the fishing at all?
Oh, that's a good question. I didn't. No.
I loved it.
You did.
So I only bothered with the fishing until when I did it for streaming, and eventually I thought, there's quests I need to do for this, and basically then I actually found myself enjoying it, because there's a bit, if you get the decent rod and do it up in the Vespa pool, it's kind of actually fine, but...
Yeah, I didn't do that. I literally did it for
that
one quest.
For fishing?
There's a fish, you can fish and like get achievements out of fishing and catch big fish.
Cook them?
You can cook them.
Well, like in Zelda, fishing actually gets you like a better wallet or something.
Yeah.
Some quests related to it.
Okay.
And there's one of the things related from one of the other quests that loads of NPCs you help throughout the game are all in one location. And it always amused me in the fact that I thought for a lot of people they'd probably get, but you'll have 20 of them, and the one person who's there to do the fishing side quest won't be there because no one did it.
Yeah, the fishing I didn't play it, but again, I'm kind of like scarred from fishing in any game because of Stardew Valley. So it's just like, I like can't like fish in games anymore. Chiji actually brings us to our next question very nicely. He said, Noctis being different from Versus 13 will always leave a bad taste in my mouth. So I was going to say, this game originally was not 15, it was Versus 13. And then it miraculously changed one E3, which we kind of all were expecting, I feel like. I was like, there's no way this is going to be a spin-off game. But how do we feel about that? I mean, for the people that did play it and the people that kind of were excited for a Versus 13. So I
should have been the original game we released about a decade ago.
I know, because I don't know. I just was I don't really have a strong opinion per se about it. I do wish we had Stella though, because she was originally in the trailer and then she kind of just like died, like she was never seen again. But I don't know. What do you guys think about the Versus 13 turning into 15? Was that whatever for you? Was it something that really bothered you? Vanessa, you go first.
Yeah. I guess it was kind of whatever for me because I didn't know about the whole Versus 13 thing until after I finished the game. So I already liked the game as it was on its own, and then I found out it was supposed to be something else, and I was like, oh, well, I'm happy with what I have, so there's that.
Yeah. What about you, Drown?
I knew about it. I don't recall vast amounts of details and would probably need to look stuff up. I know Stella was a very different character from Luna.
Oh, yeah. She's going to be a badass.
As far as I'm aware, was meant to actually be not a villain, but certainly not an ally for Noctis at certain points, as far as I'm aware.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also it was an interesting thing in the fact it was a departure in terms of obviously it was kind of like in comparison, especially compared to the game it was should have been coming out alongside being 13, which is this, a turn-based game, and obviously versus 13 was meant to be this far darker action RPG. With, one of the bits I remember in terms of a description for the group was the fact they were kind of meant to be sort of like styled on a mafia type family, which isn't really how that kind of obviously that completely changed in terms of the characters in 15. But I don't really remember that much about it.
Yeah, same. I can't remember anything significant that would make me want 13 versus 13 more than 15. I feel like it's kind of all water under the bridge at this point. But Doctor, did you have any opinions about it, Dr. Shadow?
I did not personally have any super big opinions on it.
Yeah. What about you, Shadow?
I didn't mind the decisions that they ended up making because, I understand the business a little bit and how it works, and I've seen things like that happen. I'm kind of glad that it was a current gen game instead of originally they were working on it to be a PS3 game. And I feel like once Square Enix made it clear that they were changing directions of basically the company too a little bit. When they released Type O, because that was also supposed to be
Type O.
like a versus 13 kind of thing.
Yes.
But once that became Type O, it made 15 a lot easier to digest. And the fact that they were able to do more on the PS4 and Xbox One with 15, I was okay with it.
Yeah, it turned out to be good.
Even with obviously the idea of what versus 13 was, 15 is still a departure from obviously the original vision of that game, because it's obviously far lighter as far as I'm aware, and obviously a completely different thing. Being a PS3 game, I don't quite know how open world it was going to be.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So another thing with this game is that there is a million, it feels like there's really not, but a million DLCs. So we came out with the original, and then we had all the episodes, and then there was the Royal Edition, and then there was the Complete Edition, and then there was another DLC. And then not only did we have a million DLCs, there was a movie, a book, an anime, a mobile game, and what else? There was more. I think there was more.
Well, the book only exists because the DLC doesn't.
But still, so pretty much in total for this game, if you've been playing it since it came out in 2016? Yeah, I was student teaching. That's weird. You pretty much had to spend over $100 to play this, to get this complete experience. I hate that. I hate it. I don't know.
I don't feel that Kingslave is necessary at all.
I don't either.
I
don't
feel
either.
that Kingslave, there's loads of stuff in Kingslave that just is not part of the game's narrative. It just confuses things. Like in Kingslave, one of the big plot points is the fact that the land outside Insomnia is a no man's land contested between the Empire and Insomnia, and there's loads of disaffected citizens, and that's then there are significant NPC characters in Kingslave that are part of that. That is not even once mentioned in the game at all.
No, and it's weird because I started playing the game before I watched the movie, and I remember being so fucking confused. You had to watch the movie just to kind of get the Regis background of it, how he had died, and you had no idea what the world was, this magic versus non-magic versus whatever. It was a lot.
Damn, so I have to watch the movie first?
You have to watch the movie first.
No, you don't. I honestly don't think you for Regis either, really. It also kind of there's he dies when the kingdom. That explains Regis' death reasonably.
But the first 5 minutes really explains kind of the central story, which I think you need at least the first 30 minutes of the movie at least, and then you're kind of solid. Because personally, I went into it and I did not understand anything. I was like, why is there a bubble around the city? I don't get it. Why is there a shield? Why is he dead? Why is this a big deal? It just didn't really make sense. I think they should have just added that into the game instead of having a full-fledged movie with, all these characters that never got mentioned again.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, Glauca, the captain of the guard, who's also the demon knight you see throughout Kingslave, again, never mentioned in the game. Aaron Paul's character, no mention in the game, And Kingslave even makes it to me when I watched Kingslave, I was fairly convinced Ralphus got killed.
Yeah, sorry. We have a real quick. I'm detouring. I have Chrono Katie's name in our little Final Fantasy 15 picture. I didn't
because we love her and we miss
because
her.
we love her, and also I didn't have a 5-person overlay. I only had 6, and I wasn't about to make a new one this week. I did not have time, so ignore that. She's not here. I'm sorry, but we have wonderful Drown here. She's with us in spirit.
She's actually streaming right now.
Is she really?
That's the confusion. Yeah.
Oh, I'll host her or something and tell her her name has made an appearance in our stream, because everybody's like, why is Chrono Katie there? And I'm like, shh. I didn't have time. Anyways, yeah, so, I don't know, the anime was it was alright, it was kind of fun. The book we'll talk about in a minute, but I just kind of wanted to know, where did you guys stop playing? Because I personally stopped playing after episode Arden. I just couldn't do it anymore. I was like, I can't keep up. This is too much. I know I need to go back and play it. And everyone's like, oh, it's so much better with, like, the Royal Edition. And I'm like, yes, I know, but, like, you can only go on for so long. Yeah, Drown has some opinions about this. So, I mean, I stopped playing at episode Arden. Doctor, where did you draw the line? Because you did not finish this game. Where were you just like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore? Oh, I can't hear you, Doctor. Shoot.
I'm sorry. No, I had my mic muted. My keyboard's clacky, so I don't want it to interrupt. I personally can't even remember exactly when I stopped, because I played it like day one as it came out, because I usually get every Final Fantasy game day one, and I haven't played it since then.
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean? So I can't remember exactly where I was at. I do have a comment on the whole multimedia experiences, not even just Final Fantasy, but in video games in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's always a bad idea 100% of the time.
Oh, thank God. We should talk about. We should go back to
that. I disagree.
I don't think it was actually intended as a massive multimedia thing. I think Kingslave did to explain gaps in the story.
Game, anime, mobile, DLCs, and a book.
They did intend it. It was intentional, because I remember when this came out, they said this is going to be a multimedia experience, and they really were pushing for that. Yeah, they were really pushing for a multimedia.
And Brotherhood was I think was actually an exclusive thing to special editions of Kingslave. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it was supposed to be originally. I remember when it got announced, it was like Final Fantasy 15 with a movie and an anime and a blah blah blah, and everyone was like, "Whoa!" But it ended up failing, in my opinion. And Doctor, in kind of your opinion, this was not a good idea as well.
Yeah, I know Shadow definitely disagrees with what he said, but I can't even relate it too much to this game. But every other time I've seen games try to do some sort of multimedia experience, some of the fans get lost somewhere. It just trips everybody up, because every person is not going to have, like, some people don't even have time for a video game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Let alone a whole bunch of stuff. And like my example is always every time I play one of the new World of Warcraft expansions, I always read the book in between.
Oh, right.
And it usually has a good chunk of knowledge that's like a why is things happening, or just specific character details. And then I'll talk to people in the game, and they have no idea what's going on because they missed some details from the books. And that's just like, that's silly.
It is silly.
You know?
There's some game recently that they're doing some sort of show or some sort of spin-off thing, and it's like a lot of big games now are going, yeah, let's do it as a multimedia thing, and it's like, just make a fucking game.
Yeah.
The only one I can see being decently executed is the anime that's been for Cyberpunk.
Yeah,
I at least not trust CD Projekt Red.
I was going to say, chat, come at us with your thoughts on this, because I think everyone has a different experience with this multimedia experience.
Yeah.
Shadow, I want to know why you think it's a good idea. I agree with Doctor 10,000%. So.
Okay, so what I disagreed with when he said it fails 100% of the time, because there are times when, like, my experience with a franchise has been exponentially increased because of that. So one example where I feel like it was okay was Final Fantasy IV. You know, like, we got the after years out of that, which was originally a mobile game in Japan. So originally, yeah, that kind of sucked, but then eventually it did come out here, the after years. And then Final Fantasy VII, you had like Advent Children and Dirge of Cerberus, and I love both of those. You know,
You're not allowed to come at
and
me
then-
with 7. It's not fair.
Well, I'm coming at you with 7 because like everybody's forgetting about 7.
It's-
And then
Well-
Crisis Core, come on!
Shit,
Crisis
you're
Core!
right. I hate it.
Crisis Core
Yeah.
right there
They-
shuts down that 100%. Hold up,
yeah.
I'm not done. I'm not done. Hold
Wait,
up.
wait. Okay, we're gonna. This is a hot topic. You're gonna. So Shadow, finish your thought, and then Vanessa.
Okay, because like Crisis Core, like that in itself, it's like, all right, not 100% a failure. But what, like, I don't disagree with what Doctor was saying about like World of Warcraft, or when a franchise puts too much reliance on these little side pieces. I feel like the side pieces should exist, but there shouldn't be information lacking from the main games because of the side pieces. Like, it's mandatory for you to experience this book or this anime. No. These should be supplemental and bonuses. They should be able to just sort of enrich, you know, like, so the main game should still cover and not, you know, nobody should be left out of the loop when they're playing the main game. Another example I want to cite is the freaking Chronicles of Riddick movies. It started as a damn sci-fi movie, Pitch Black, and then you got an anime and you got a video game out of it, and all of them were fantastic.
I mean,
Okay,
some-
hold on.
some- I mean,
There was
Wait.
one
Okay,
more.
Vanessa's gonna
Oh,
go after this. Yeah.
Well,
And then
I
you.
mean,
Space.
the thing
I have to
for-
talk about Dead Space. So, Dead Space 3 is probably the weakest of the series, but Dead Space had novels. They had a goddamn Easter egg, like, puzzle, internet, like, social kind of game. Like, it was like this mysterious website with a bunch of riddles and cryptography and puzzles, and you had to know, like, real serious, like, cryptography skills to crack this. And it was like the one time I'd seen the internet. And this was what year was Dead Space? Like 2003 something.
Something like
Um,
that. Yeah.
Yeah, like really
shelf-
long ago, before
It's on a
10.
shelf behind me. I can grab it if you don't mind.
Like 2006 or something, I want to say. But like, it was the first time I'd seen the internet come together way before social media to like try to solve these puzzles on this website, and it was like generating so much hype for that first Dead Space game. Then you had an anime that came out, then you had these books that came out, all tied to like the link between Dead Space 1 and 2. So there are definitely times in my experience where, you know, whether it starts as a video game or they have a video game added to something, I feel like it can, when done correctly, add to your experience and totally enhance it. Thank you, Words. 2008 for Dead Space 1.
Oh.
But I don't disagree with Doctor in the examples that he cited. Like, totally. If I've got a question mark on my head because I didn't like read some book that only came out in Japan, no, then screw you. Like, I'm not down with that.
Okay. Crap.
It's also when they happen as well, though, because I mean the Final Fantasy 15 one, most of that was when it launched, whereas like before and after years, or the compilation of Final Fantasy 7, that was
I think there's some credit to that.
so
Like, there
very-
needs to be pacing.
yeah,
to
and it's
sort of
it's
allow
when it's
people
the thing I was about try to launch a multimedia empire for a new IP is just like just stop.
I think.
Mass Effect, BioWare did it decently. Mass Effect as well. There
I'm
is
gonna say it one more time. Crisis Core.
Shut up! I'm so mad that you brought that up because I was just like, oh, I agree with Doctor. He's so right. He's actually a doctor here. And then you're like, Crisis Core. And I'm like,
I will
fuck
always
you!
make sure my boy Zach gets representation. Nobody's gonna forget about Zach as long as I live.
Vanessa, what are your thoughts on this? Because you were trying to get in there with this like argument. I need more wine for this, y'all. It's getting intense. Like, go ahead.
Doctor, I love you so much, but I like really agree with Shadow on this one. Like, when done correctly, like a multimedia universe can really work. Like, they had, you know, back to Final Fantasy VII, it was a complete game. You needed to know everything within that game. But then, you know, fans wanted more. They wanted to see this and they wanted to see that. And then so they built upon that. And then that's like the best way you can do a multimedia game, like a multimedia universe like that. For the way 15 was, when you had to watch the movie, you had to watch the animes, you had to, you know, get the book if you want a sense of like completion of the game. Like, that is kind of, it sounds like they were like milking the fans for their
Money grubbing?
We're going to talk about that too. Another subject, I mean, we can bring this in kind of as we're talking about this subject, but I feel like I got fucking gypped. I spent so much money on this game and I did not love it. I did not get the experience I wanted. I feel like they really were milking us. We were fucking cows.
Yeah.
I have a rebuttal, if possible.
I don't quite think that's. I mean, they are. Square aren't necessarily the. They're not the worst. I mean, Avengers could be a topic in itself, but I mean, they're not the worst.
You're not like EA or
actually,
Ubisoft.
No, they're not the worst.
Yeah, Ubisoft. I'm not going to make a Ubisoft comment on things. I was just thinking, but they aren't. I generally think that with 15 that it wasn't. It was benign in terms of there wasn't actually an intent of going, yeah, let's put out this, but we need these bits to actually flesh out the story. And it's like, yeah, they did kind of like acknowledge, not long after it released, that the story was fractured and bits of it definitely needed to be explained a bit better. And they kind of stated, we're going to add story revisions. They didn't state people were going to have to pay for them, but they did at least acknowledge there was reasons for those revisions needed. And then obviously the second wave of DLC, which was going to completely revise things.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that because you mentioned, I did not play it, but you did, and we will talk about that in a minute. But I don't know, we just always have this argument of microtransactions and how much it kind of irks us, but yet we let Final Fantasy 15 get away with it. Doctor, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I want to hear your rebuttal.
My rebuttal was, I think my definition of multimedia experience might be different from your guys. I have no problem with multiple games in a series. That to me is not multimedia.
No, it's not.
Because
you're right.
Video games, like, Dirge Service was a video game. Final Fantasy 7 was a video game. What's the other one that I can't remember right now?
Crisis Core.
Crisis Core, thank you. Also a video game.
Right, but Final Fantasy 7 had these books
they had
too.
books and movies, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and an anime.
Mm-hmm.
That's silly. And I'll tell you why, because there are some really diehard fans out there that love like Final Fantasy, whatever, or any video game. Really. But like, what if these people just hate anime? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then that's just a whole thing that they're not going to enjoy. That might have some crumbles of information or fun stuff in there, and a lot of those people are what they're going to actually do. Because I've been a part of this. Is I just look up, just like give me a summary of what happened to that, so I know the information.
Yeah, and that's cool too. I'm okay with that. What is it? The Hyrule Historia? It was like that big, thick Zelda companion book.
I do have that.
I have that too. But like, some people don't like to read, and that's just like I love to read, and I read the Final Fantasy VII books, but I didn't read them till this year.
I've had to explain a lot of things to my younger brother.
I've not read them all the way through small.
There's an audiobook on YouTube. It's awesome. I just recommend it. Anyways, go ahead, Doctor.
I have had to explain a lot of things to my brother in fandoms that he likes because he's dyslexic and can't read well.
Oh, damn.
You know what I mean?
Well, then it's like Final Fantasy 15. Like, okay, I think Final Fantasy 7 is a good example because they had a finished game first. Final Fantasy 15 was so unfinished, and it was so incomplete, and they just were trying to make up for it, and it was just like, you've lost me. After a year of DLCs and stuff, I'm done. Like, I can't do it anymore. I want to move on with my life. So
and also, you're gonna charge us for that?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, then, no. Feel free to come in, but even like, oh crap, I lost my train of thought. Shit. I had something.
You're doing great.
I had something that I lost my train of thought. It was a really good. Shit. It'll come back to me. But yeah, it just lost me after a while. I couldn't do it anymore. I was just like, fuck this. Like, I'm done. Like, I've moved on. I'm on to Final Fantasy 14 now, and it's a great game, and I want to play that instead. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like Final Fantasy 15 had too much. Way too much. I think they just kind of like really bombarded us with this. And also okay, here's what I was going to say. They should have had free updates with this information. Like Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing has
Mass Effect 3. Remember when they redid the ending on that? They should have done something like that.
Yeah.
I honestly think it was by design.
I mean, with Mass Effect 3, they only did that because there was a massive movement of petition on the internet to actually force them to do it. I mean, as much as there was obviously fan dissatisfaction and Square acknowledging this, but I'm not certain if they...
Go ahead, Doctor.
I was saying, I have a hard time not believing... Like, I love Square Enix, and I love a lot of video game companies, but it's hard for me to even consider that this is not a by design type of thing.
Yeah. No, I haven't.
Maybe make some things, people get mad, then like if they were actually like, hey, we did a bad job, I'm sorry, it would have not been, yeah, we fucked up and now you're gonna pay for it. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it sucks though because Final Fantasy 15 is not a bad game in any means. It is a good game and it is really good. Like I like it a lot, even though it isn't complete and it has its issues. But it just was too much after a while. Even this book, I was excited because I was like, maybe this will wrap things up and like really be something, and it just wasn't for me. And I just am like, okay,
Probably why you hate it so much.
Oh, I hated it so much. I'm sorry. I will go on about it. Anyway, so apart from that argument, Drowned, you did play the DLC and you did not like it. What were your thoughts about it?
I like the DLC. I generally feel the Prompto one is the weakest of the lot.
No, the Royal Edition. You said.
Oh, right, the Royal Edition.
Yeah.
Right, Royal Edition is most of it's pointless. There's so many. It's just one of these ones of interestingly, it's kind of similar to a lot of the stuff they added to Chrono Trigger, really. But the Royal Edition, it doesn't add anything into, as far as I'm aware, it doesn't add anything into the game until after you leave Altissia. In the bit when you're going for the Royal Tomb, it adds some really awful quests. There's some filler quests. One of them involves going around taking photos. It's not Prompto that takes them, it's Noctis. You have to be stood in specific spots, although the game doesn't acknowledge it. And unlike any of the Prompto's photos, you've actually, if you've basically like taken shitloads of photos of the game and filled out the memory, you can't take them because the game will go, no, you've got 200 already. You need to like go through and delete stuff.
Oh man.
You have to be stuff in specific spots, and most of them were just horrible filler quests. And then it adds more stuff into Insomnia. Oh, there is actually, there is a bit on the train, in the bit when Gentiana reveals herself as Shiva.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bit there when Vanessa's holding the book.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
I was trying to fix the pages, they were falling out. Sorry.
There's a bit there when it adds like some more backstory to the stuff to do with Ifrit, that was really good. And then it adds more stuff into it. Kind of expands on the Insomnia stuff. It kind of establishes like, oh, there's a resistance movement there, try to retake the capital. And again, it gives you loads of horrible filler quests.
Oh god.
Again, taking photos of random crap. I didn't even finish one of the quests. I just went, thought, look at this, I'm gonna go and fight Arden because this is horrible. There is a really, really cool. There are some good bits. There is a fight against a mega weapon that I didn't do because it's like level 120, and I thought at this point I'm all right.
Yeah.
And then it does add this really, really cool cutscene. Although that cutscene wouldn't take place after the book's revisions. It does add a really cool cutscene of basically Arden sets up this big barrier around the keep. And like all the forces, all the 6 turn up to destroy this barrier, which is really, apart from Ifrit, but that's really cool. That was really cool. That I'd definitely go and look that up on YouTube. And then there's some additional fights before, and this sort of links into the character DLCs because there's some additional fights, and like each Gladio, Ignis, and Prompto are all given a moment to shine. That was really quite cool. It was just the fact that it didn't make up for everything else.
Yeah. And then you go ahead. And then you go and fight Arden, and it doesn't change there. There's some additional stuff with Core, which is cool because more Matt Mercer's always cool. But overall, it did add a fishing thing as well that I didn't care enough to check. Yeah.
By and large, most of the stuff in the Raw Edition was fairly terrible. The few decent cutscenes it adds didn't really make up for the rest of it.
God, that's what they do with Kingdom Hearts too. Like, and how much was the DLC? I'm just curious. Was it $30 as well, or £30 as well? About £30.
Nah, the Raw Edition was about because the Raw Edition is obviously it was what they added for when they ported it to PC, and then that's DLC, which is I think it's not much more than about £5 actually.
Oh, okay, that's not horrible then.
It's
because
not usually expensive.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts was $30, and I was like. It maybe added one fight, and I was like, what the hell was that? Like, I paid $30 for that? Like, I don't know. I just feel like why couldn't they add this all to the original game and just give it more time?
Shiji's point's interesting. It's like, it was going to be tricky following it up with, like, 14's an MMO.
14 is awesome.
Yeah, 14 is a very, very good game, but obviously it's structurally and just very, very different to, apart from 11, it's structurally very, very different as an FF to the rest of them, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that because of how story-driven the game is, it's relatively close.
Yeah,
because a lot of
5.3.
MMOs lack in like actual storytelling that's like you have to listen to and have to know about, and you get the story. But Final Fantasy XIV has been a cohesive story throughout the whole thing, and it feels very Final Fantasy-esque, even if it is an MMO.
Yeah, it is.
And I think I've not played any of the changes for the 5.3 update yet, but that stuff is only there to basically cut down on wasting player time, really, as far as I'm aware.
Also, the story they added, though, because they add like a little bit more to the story, was awesome. I don't know if you played it, Doctor. I'm not going to give spoilers.
Don't spoil it.
Literally, I screamed. I was like, I screamed. I was like playing it at 2 a.m. and the ending happened, and I literally like shrieked. I was like, ah! So. If you haven't played 5.3, please go play it. It was really good. If you are caught up with the story. So, oh hi, Luparit. All right, so we kind of determined. There's too much. We just had that was actually a good argument. Good job, you guys, about multimedia experiences. That's what my dissertation is on right now, so it's the only thing that's on my mind. So my dissertation is due in less than a week, friends. So, yeah, so now we're going to talk about the book a little bit. I won't do it too much because only 3 of us read it, and Vanessa, you did not finish it. How far did you get, Vanessa? That's okay. I'm not calling you out. I'm just like, I feel that.
Okay, I finished like the first part, and I'm just like starting Aranea's chapter or her section in the book.
Yeah.
That's playable.
Yeah, the first part pretty much just seemed like episode Arden and the anime prologue leading up to it.
Yeah,
so I was like,
for the most part,
skip that, honestly. But
yeah, it was. So I didn't like the book, and I made this very clear last week. Why I didn't really make it clear why, because I didn't really want to say yet. So if you have not read the book and you want to read the book, please don't watch this. I'm giving away spoilers. I'm going to do it. I'm giving does anyone in here that is a cast member want to read the book? I did not make that. Can I just say things? Do I have permission? Okay.
I give
yeah, I'm never gonna read it.
I'm finding it impressive that you're a streamer who's actually saying don't watch the stream.
Well, I want to save everyone. So then, if you
that's fair.
If you want to come back later when you're done with the book, this will be up on YouTube. You can come back to this and you can hear our thoughts. Arden's. I'm going to kind of go. So there's 4 parts to the book. There's Arden, there's Aranea, there's Luna, and then there is a final glaive, which is Noctis. Mostly, but it rewrites the whole fucking ending, and that really confused me, and I was just like, I hated the writing. That was mostly it. The writing was absolutely horrible. I don't know who wrote this book, but it was horrible.
From the beginning, I mean, even episode Arden is the beginning of the story revisions, because there's bits in episode Arden that just do not when you play it and go, there's bits in here that just don't mesh with the rest of the story.
Yeah.
There's a bit in episode Arden which isn't really in the book. Because there's one bit in episode Arden which works better in there's one bit in the book that works better in the DLC than it does in the book, which is the bit where he's escaping Angel Guard. That is the bit when he kind of in the DLC explains his powers. In the book, it just is like he just escapes and it kind of works better as an action sequence.
Yeah, they missed that. I was like, what?
And after that, there's a bit when you're kind of exploring the base and you get kind of a bit about the world history. Except that world history doesn't really mesh with what you've been told for the rest of the game. And also the landmass, the map that you see, just like, I'm sure that doesn't map to what I've seen in the game.
Yeah, it was like just a big recap. It was a big 50-page recap, and I was kind of just not about it. The only thing I did like, which Vanessa, you can also comment on this because you probably saw it, was it did kind of go into his love life. So he did love a woman named Era, who was also an oracle, and also a relative of Luna Freya, from what I'm gathering, an ancestor.
That's expanded upon the character. I don't think the DLC covers that.
No, and I did like that. I kind of like seeing Arden as like a human, as like someone who was in love. It was kind of nice. but it didn't expand on it, which I think most of us wanted out of this. We wanted more Noctis and Luna, and we wanted more happiness out of it. Or I did. I don't know about you guys. But what did you feel about that, Vanessa? Were you kind of like, yay, Era, like, yay, love, or...
Yeah, but then she, like, gets dead.
She gets dead.
She gets dead.
She gets dead.
I like...
Like, like, you see her for, like, a little bit in both the anime, and then she pops in here and there in the book, and she just kind of, I don't know, like, I just remember her praying, and then Somnus comes in, and then they have that, like, fucking, like, conversation or whatever, and then the next time I remember seeing her while reading was when Arden comes back, because he thought he was the chosen king.
Yeah.
And then him and his brother start to fight, and then Era comes in, and she just, like, sacrifices herself to save Arden. And I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. But I kind of wanted to see more of you, because...
Exactly. She drove quite a bit of his thoughts, it seemed like. And the first part of the book, I actually did like the Arden one. I will give it that. Arden and Aranea's I did like, and I was kind of, like, into it. And then Luna's, it lost me. You didn't like it. And
I'll explain why.
Yeah, we're going to do that in 1 second. I just wanted to finish the Arden thing. I also, this is really stupid, and please don't hate me. I am a real Final Fantasy fan. I didn't know that Arden wasn't Noctis's... I thought that Arden was Noctis's ancestor and not Somnus, and I didn't realize that until the book. And I was kind of glad, because I was like, oh, great-grandpa, hello. But then I realized, no, that's not right. It was his brother. Yeah, and I was like, oh!
Great.
Yeah.
Great uncle.
Well, I thought Arden was the grandfather, or grandfather, ancestor, I'll say. But I didn't know it was uncle. And so then I was like, oh, that makes more sense. Because I was like, why don't they look alike? This is bullshit. So I'm just weird about ancestral things.
I thought that too. I totally thought that too. And then had to, like, really pay attention to the end of the game to realize, oh, yeah, it wasn't the Founder King.
Yeah, he fucking hates Somnus, though. He's like, I hate you. You sucked. He just is like, I hate everything about you, little brother.
I love Somnus, too, because, like, okay, I could be totally foggy on this, but wasn't it, like, didn't the gods actually choose Arden?
Yeah, they did.
Mm-hmm. That's the entire that's the entire revelation. That's what leads him down the path of darkness when he subverts.
Somnus.
Well,
he totally like betrays his brother. He steals the throne. He kills Era. Like, he's a piece of shit.
He kind of is. They both are.
That's kind of one of the entire things. The fact, obviously, the legacy of Insomnia is based on bloodshed and a lie. But what the bollocks was I going with? I've lost my train of thought.
That's okay. Here, I was going to mention real quick. Does anyone kind of think of Lion King when they think of this story? Anyone? Come at me, Carbuncle friends. Do you think of Lion King? Because all I think of is Mufasa and Scar as I'm reading this. And maybe that's just because I'm a weird Disney person.
The king.
Long live the king.
Well, maybe that other thing that Lion King was maybe inspired by.
No one cares about Hamlet. Everyone cares about Lion King. It's all good.
It's only Lion King.
People do care about Hamlet, but you're very right, Drowned. It's all okay. Anyways, let's move on from Arden because he's whatever. Aranea's episode. He's Mufasa, yes. No, he's Scar. Arden is Scar, and Somnus is Mufasa, and Noctis is Simba. So that's what we're going off of right now. And then Luna's Nala.
Warthog.
Yes. Oh, who's Timon and Pumbaa? Oh.
Well, if we're going with, Noctis is Simba, either Gladiolus, Ignis, or Prompto would be Timon and Pumbaa.
I've got it. So, Zazu. Zazu is Ignis. Prompto
is Ignis.
Prompto is Timon, and Gladio is Pumbaa. Look, we just did this.
If we are going on a brief segment to do with, like, all the stuff to do with it, I will state, if you are a fan of Ignis, and Adam Crowsdale, go and watch the third series of Preacher, because that was pretty much why I watched it, because he's in it.
Oh, okay.
It's fucking brilliant.
We love our crossovers.
If you know Preacher and he plays Icarius, and he's glorious in it.
Nice.
Wait, this is voice actor?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on from Arden because I could talk about Arden all day, and we did talk about Arden already in our villains episode. So we will not talk about Arden any further. Go back to our I think we talked about him in episode 4 with the villains. We talked about him very much. Aranea's chapter, I liked it, but it was weird. It changed her a lot. So Aranea adopts a girl and is now a mom. And that was kind of weird for me. But I did enjoy her chapter. I enjoyed how it was written. Drown, you hated her chapter. Why didn't you like it?
So I'll explain why. I liked the bits with Aranea, but the reason I have an issue with the Aranea chapter is it's the most underwhelming. Because it's the one that suffers the most. If you look in the liner notes at the back, there's a point in there which kind of explains my issue with it. Is very, very right at the back. It's in like the bits to the art piece. The Aranea episode was, in terms of the DLC, was as far as what they stated, was intended to be the most action-packed thing they'd done for the entire game. And just as a result of that, I think it's the one that suffers the most in terms of its transition from being an action-packed piece of DLC to a thing basically where because the core of it is basically her. That would have been the core premise of that DLC. Would have been her hunting down Diamond Web and destroying it. Which happens. It's just really not very well described. It's not. Which is weird because there's some very decent action scenes later on in the book, but just the Aranea bits were just like they were. I just felt the transition from game to DLC to book just didn't work as well for it.
I agree with you.
And I was generally thinking the bit when it got really interesting, and then I turned the page and I discovered I was about to start reading the Luna chapter. It was like, this is the bit where it gets really exciting.
I agree with you because it just why couldn't this be a game? Like that was kind of my thing. It was just like this would have been it would have translated much better as a video game instead of a book.
And I think, and it kind of leads me to question things to the Luna one in terms of like, well, how is that going to work as a piece of DLC?
That was a fucking mess.
I thought that was the strongest of it. Well, no, the last one was the last glaive was decent, but I thought the Luna one was interesting.
I didn't like it. Well, let's move on to Luna because Aranea didn't have much other than she became a mom. She adopted some kid named Soul, who is a brand new character, huh?
Yes, and
really important main character.
I'm gonna have to say that Soul's character was utterly fucking pointless.
I agree. I 100% agree because I was like, why is this bitch here? Why do we need her? We don't need her.
There's a single point in the Luna chapter that kind of is why she's the core thing with Soul is her heritage, which is brought up for a single plot point, and it never goes anywhere after that. I'm not sure if I should directly state what it is or not.
Yes, just state it. We're doing all this so people don't have to read it. That's what we're doing.
Sol is, I've forgotten her full character name, but she is.
It's like I don't remember.
Sol, I can't remember, but she is the great granddaughter of Idlus Aldersept, who is the Emperor of Niflheim. Is Niflheim? That's not the Emperor.
Yes, no, you're right. You got it.
Oh, Niflheim. Nifgard's.
Niflheim? Shit, I thought that too.
They sound very, very similar.
They do. So I was even like, you're good. You're good.
But yeah, and it's basically she is the illegitimate daughter of, she's Gendry Baratheon basically. That's pretty much the best way of putting it. She's Gendry Baratheon.
She's Rey from Star Wars.
Yeah, in the same way, and basically it's kind of you kind of think that she's the heir to the throne of a kingdom that's completely destroyed, and that goes and it kind of gets brought up as a plot point in the Luna chapter at one point of going is like obviously here going to Luna, you'd still help me even though my family were basically the people that destroyed your kingdom. Like because Luna's good and she's clearly going to do that. It seemed pointless. It goes nowhere. They could have just used Iris, in my opinion.
She's there, then she's not, and it's really it was kind of like I can't remember their names, but they're from the movie. It was that pointless. I don't remember their names. Oh god.
Wait, the Glaives?
Yes, the Glaives. How they were there and then they weren't. It was just like that. It was just a pointless character. Didn't really drive the story much, other than Luna. And I just was like, why? Like, why do we got to do this? Why can't we bring in a character we did know? I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, that was the thing. It was one of the things that one of the criticisms of the game is the fact that we never get to see Iris the Demon Hunter.
Nope.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a massive thing that's pointed out that in terms of that conversation between Tolkien and Noctis after he gets back out of the crystal is like, look, Iris the Demon Slayer, she's this mighty badass, and then you never actually get to see it.
Never.
Yeah.
I think they mentioned her, and that was it.
And Sol's kind of a demon hunter with a bike and has got ties to the characters, but she's there as an interesting character, but it just the premise and purpose behind her background just doesn't really serve any purpose.
No, it doesn't drive the story really at all. So Luna's episode was honestly, I was so excited about, and it was just lackluster in my opinion. Luna's not dead, y'all. She comes back. She's live. I don't know how. Drown, did you catch that? How did she come back to life? I honestly was like, she's alive, and then I just kind of was like, fuck it, and kept going. So
I mean, in the original game story, no, she's not. She's dead.
Mm-hmm.
After Arden stabs her, she is fucking dead. That's it.
That scene, though, I will add in the book, was sad. When she was
Luna's exit from the story. In the revised story, the Draconian basically brings her back to life by bestowing her with powers of the Star Scourge, because the Bahamut has got some sort of big long-term plan that involves Luna and involves basically I liked Luna's story, but I just it's a very, very slow, methodical character piece that is kind of Luna coming to terms with obviously being brought back to life, a new calling, and then obviously, and how that works in terms of her being the Oracle, and then obviously the choice to defy that calling. And I'm very curious in comparison to the RNA one in how this was going to work as a piece of DLC, unless it was just like it's effectively a road trip in a way, but it's kind of like they're going back to try and get to a certain location. And it's just like, I know I was going to conclude clearly, but it's like, how is it? Most of it is conversation between Sol and Luna.
Yeah, it's like friendly conversation, like camping. It's like, okay, like, I don't know.
With occasional demon fights.
Exactly. Well, it's funny because our chat right now is really funny to me because this is exactly how I reacted, how everyone is like, the game lord, this is fucking insane, this is ass, like, no, she comes back to life, so Luna is not dead. They decided to bring her back. She is a demon, though. That's something you really have to remember, especially for the ending. She is now a demon because she is brought back to life, which I think she's the demon. She's basically given sort of similar powers to Arden. Yeah.
But the difference there is that Arden gained his powers because he basically had the ability to draw out the Star Scourge from people and not be corrupted by it. And Luna's basically given the same ability.
Chi-Chi. Sorry, he just gave like a puking face.
But the entire point behind it as to why she has that ability is because Bahamut is using her to basically just amass corruption that he can then use to basically fire back at the planet to cleanse it of all life.
Yeah. So that was kind of the only I don't know, because it was kind of nice to see her back, but at the same time, I did have the reaction of everybody else, like, what the fuck? Like, why?
Yeah, it kind of ends her death. Like, I don't feel as emotionally wrecked as I do anymore.
But I like that she died. It made me sad. I like to feel sad because of the game, you know?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, oh, like, she sacrificed herself and she died, and now I'm sad, and that's good. But then now she's back, and I'm like, oh, well, why'd you kill her in the first place? It like values that whole moment where you just feel, all your feelings because you think Noctis lost the love of his life, and the Oracle's gone. Shit.
And now she's back, but she's a demon. Well, she's not really a demon, but she's Arden. She's
the new Arden.
Like my head, like Gaming Nerd just said, my brain hurts. I don't know. There wasn't really much more to Luna's story. Did you have anything else to add, Drowned, about that?
No, I mean, because obviously I'm kind of guessing there was going to be some final dramatic showdown. Because the way it concludes is they basically Aranea leads some sort of mission to go and basically destroy some sort of demon magitech thing. Gets corrupted. Luna and Sol go and save her, and obviously Luna draws out the corruption from Aranea, and then they end up having to the conversation. I'm trying to remember if at the end of the Arden episode that there's one scene in there that is maybe just in the book. I can't remember if it was in the game, because the Arden episode, the Arden chapter, ends with Luna walking into the throne room to have a conversation with Arden, which obviously then the Luna chapter kind of wraps back around to, eventually comes back around to that point.
I don't know if that was in the. Now that you mention it, I feel like that was just in the book.
Yeah, I wanted to go back because the book does add some few bits and pieces, like because there's bits where for me the Arden DLC conflicts with stuff that's going off. It's like because obviously the Arden DLC ends with him storming Insomnia, and then the realization that obviously Arden is loose in the world, and you'd think really that Regis might point out to his son that, oh yeah, there's a 2,000-year-old demon-infused ancestor that wants to kill you out on the loose, but you know. Just go get married.
Yeah,
it's not going to end well. But the book adds a few bits and pieces that kind of like in terms of it adds. There's a bit. It's not much, but there's stuff to do with like the Imperial delegation coming to Insomnia that is mentioned, and the fact that Arden is actually the representative, which kind of try marrying that up because that was a bit conflicting.
Yeah.
And
that was another thing. It just was more confusing to me. After I read it, I was just like, I feel more confused than when I read the book, you know, because we're about to talk about it, but the ending is now completely changed in the game. So the original ending from the game, they're both dead. They meet in heaven and they kiss, and everyone's like, okay, that was weird. But now in the book, I'm going to give away the ending. Again, spoiler alert. If you do not want to hear this and read the book yourself, watch the YouTube video later. Noctis...
One thing I will state, despite him being on the cover art, Vanessa can probably hold up. Despite him being on the cover art, like, it might be on the... Ravus is on the cover art, or at least on some of the artwork that's on the cover for the book. Ravus has literally no fucking further presence in it at all.
I was going to say that, yeah.
Any expansion to Ravus, Ravus is on the right there. And the left character is Regis, who also has a bit of a presence, but not much. There's a very, very confusing... There is a very, very confusing final... In the very final section, there's a line about Ravus, which confused the shit out of me, because as far as I'm aware, the destruction of Niflheim still takes place where Ravus dies. And that heavily implied Ravus was alive. That last section where it was clearly going on about the wedding was like, this is a bit confusing.
It just was it just made it more confusing, honestly. Yeah. The ending is, but let's talk about the ending. So the final glaive it was a good part. I will give it that. It did have its good moments, but this book just had horrible writing. It just dragged on forever for me. I had a hard time with it. But so pretty much Noctis is now having to beat Arden, which we know from the game. Luna comes on in and she's all demoned up and he's like, what the fuck? And so he has to beat her, which was really emotional. And I was like, oh, finally, we're getting somewhere here. And then it kind of died again. So I don't want to say she's a full demon, but she's pretty fucked up. You know, she's not all there. And Noctis has to beat her to be able to get to Arden, which was really sad because he even was like saying as he was trying to he didn't want to hurt her, but he had to, and he was like, snap out of it, and she couldn't do it. And so he just had to beat the shit out of her until that was pretty much what happened. Noctis had to beat the shit out of Luna. He tried though, and that was the sad part for me. It was really short, and I really wish they expanded on it more. Maybe went into Luna's point of view while this was happening to her. But yeah, Noctis was just like, snap out of it. I love you, please. And she was just like, I'm going to kill you.
And there are some interesting bits in it, because it's the entire last bit is basically about, because also it's the entire premise of what occurs for the last bit is basically them defying Bahamut and taking the fight to Bahamut, and Noctis, instead of having to kill Arden, convincing him to help, and that's what Luna is attempting to do as well.
Yes.
And also the rather interesting bit of forming the bond with Ifrit, which is the covenant with Ifrit, which was kind of cool. But yeah, basically it's entirely going up against. I thought the bits where Bahamut was talking to them and stuff like that. But I thought those was quite interesting. But
I got bored at that part, so I'm glad you found it interesting because I was like,
it's a better final part than the final. I mean, for me, I generally felt that the fight against Arden in Final Fantasy 15 has to be one of the weakest final fights of many Final Fantasy games, apart from the final fight in episode Prompto. But obviously there are a couple of Final Fantasies where the very, very final fight of the game, like you, Yevon, in a way, that final fight against Sephiroth and 7 are all can be a little bit underwhelming. I kind of get Sephiroth, but that's kind of a showdown between him and Cloud. But you, Yevon, was just you can't die.
Mm-hmm.
It's a giant tick. And the fight against Arden at the end of 15. The fight against Arden at the end of 15 is just like it's just a very uninteresting cutscene battle.
Yeah.
It's not really very good. And the bit in the book was, at least, obviously it's not a fight against Arden, but it's just this sort of long battle against Bahamut and his forces, which was all quite interesting. One thing I did note of the entire book, they did seem to go out of its way quite heavily to really never really mention until the last chapter. Never really mention Ignis, Prompto, and Gladio.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
They never talked about them, and I was like, where are they?
There is a conversation that Sol has with Gladio in Luna's chapter, but yeah, the other three they just seem to be like
they were just
going
gone
out of the way not to mention them,
which was sad because they were really a big part of the game.
Yeah.
But I do want to just bring the final conclusion, kind of wrap this up, because it did have a lot of information. I can see some people just getting really confused. Doctor, I'm looking at you. I can see you just being like, what?
I have no idea what you're doing.
I know. And I can
really paying attention to the chat.
Time.
And that's okay. And it's okay because this is confusing. And even our chat is like, what the fuck? This is really confusing. But again, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to recommend the book. I should recommend the book, but I don't know. Anyways, it ends with the world is recovered. Shiva, or God, what's her fucking name? Gentiana? Is that her name? Gentiana. She ends up curing Luna, and Luna's back to normal, and then Noctis and Luna meet, and they are together again, but they are both alive at the end of the story. So it kind of is a happy ending, but the original ending is completely eradicated. I don't know. I mean, I just kind of want to ask everybody, chat, people who have not read the book, what did you think of all that? Like, do you guys think that was worth it? Did you think they just shouldn't have written a book at all? Or should that... I mean, my personal opinion is that should have just all been into the game. I think that we have no excuse.
The books... Yeah, because the book exists because they cancelled the last 3 bits of DLC.
Of course, yeah.
That's... Yeah, I mean... I'm very curious... I'll be very curious to see how at least some of that DLC would have been executed. And, yeah.
It's
kind
sad.
of interesting. Because one of the things that's mentioned in the book is this whole idea of the fact that, like, the final bit is going to be a team-up between Luna, Arden, and Noctis and Aranea. And in the last chapter, Aranea is basically a footnote. She provides air support, that's about it.
Yeah.
And it really is not a team-up fight between them at all. Which is like, Arden basically goes off into the beyond to basically destroy, like, the astral form of Bahamut while they fight him in the real world.
Yeah.
At the same time.
So it's just as a clusterfuck. I think I would have rather waited 5 more years and got this all in a game. Doctor, what do you think about all this?
Well, I'm not sure that originally, if they'd not had some level of criticism for the story being fractured, that they would have even done even considered doing the second wave of DLC anyway.
Right. Wait 1 sec, just before we go on. But Jangles asked, wasn't Luna supposed to have a DLC already that rewrote the ending? She was, and they weren't able to do it for some reason. They ran out of funding, and so this was the book. The book was the Aranea and Luna DLC that we were supposed to get.
It was the director left, and they basically then just shit-canned the other 3 pieces of DLC.
Yeah, so this was the book. If you really want to go into it, because we literally TLDR'd it, go get the book if you really want to. I wouldn't recommend it. It is just going to confuse you. Unless you're a really diehard 515 fan. Doctor, what did you think?
This whole conversation has made me incredibly nervous for Final Fantasy 16 when it comes out.
Me? Oh no, I didn't even think about that.
Avengers just make you nervous for Final
I
Fantasy.
am with you 100% on that.
Oh god.
I'm very scared of Final Fantasy 16.
I
Like, they better have a ninja at this point to keep me interested.
I can't take too much heartbreak, Square Enix. You need to chill
I know.
out.
Get it together, guys. I'd rather wait another 10 years and have a completed game than this again. Honestly.
I will say, though, I did love Final Fantasy VII Remake a lot, so at least they saved it a little bit there for me.
There we go.
Yeah, I think
That was reasonable enough.
15's greatest problem is its protracted and problematic development. I think actually if it's not a shit show in terms of development, 16 will be fine.
Yeah, I'm just hoping they learned from their mistakes. I hope they learned from their mistakes and they won't do this again. Because it is too much. It is too much for someone to keep up with, unless you're a diehard fan.
I mean, they've already
I'm a
done it.
diehard fan.
We all are. We have a podcast about this damn thing. But
And
like,
I didn't get any
I mean,
of
they've
it.
already
pretty much.
they've already done it previously. I mean, obviously, the 13 is 3 parts, and the execution of those 3 parts was somewhat questionable. Lightning Returns is not a good game.
we don't talk about Lightning Returns ever. it's
And
an abomination. It's
13 is just, and 13. I mean, that was the thing I was saying earlier. Is the fact that the interesting in comparison between the two, in the fact that 13 is very, very linear up until you get onto Pulse, at which point it opens out, kind of.
A little,
It's still,
yeah.
a little, because it's still effectively it just widens the size of the corridor, really. Because it's still, I mean, the only thing it gives you then to do is like combat stuff. But there's no other side quests, and the combat in 13 is somewhat linear, and it's like, because there's really kind of an expected approach for how to do fights.
right.
And then 15, it's like there's that big stretch when you get out into, because the first chapter with 15, the first couple of chapters of 15, you're in a wide but smaller area, and then obviously Insomnia Falls, and then you eventually get out into the wider area, where you're effectively meant to be in Stalem, and you can just spend like 30 odd hours just wandering around doing side quests because you keep unlocking more and more hunts as you level up. And then 15, when it gets to a certain point, obviously it gets massively linear. Yeah, it's sort of the reverse, really, which I find quite interesting.
Yeah, I mean, 15 was a good game, and like I'm not gonna say like don't play it because it really did have really good I mean, I don't want to say really good because I just played Final Fantasy VI and that had really good characters, but it had good characters. It was a beautiful game. I don't know. Go with discretion. Don't feel like you need to read the book or watch the movies or the animes. Just do what you want. It doesn't fucking matter at this point. I don't know. I mean, okay, so I'm just going to read a couple more tweets that we had. So Lance said, Final Fantasy 15 has some of the most epic and memorable music to me. It may have felt unfinished at times, but the journey is one that brings out all emotions. The updates and DLC have only made the game better. Upper tier Final Fantasy game for me. So we've had that, but we've also had the opposite. This game, I think, is a big controversy. I can't speak English. And then we have a friend, Lance, who says... one of the best first halves of the game I've ever played, but the second half went in too many directions for me. I might try again one day. So this was kind of the response I got from everybody. People loved it. People hated it. People meh. It just was a lot.
This was, you said in chat, just play 14 instead. I will state, at least the voice acting in 15 is better than 14.
Oh, yeah, the voice acting was good. And also Stand By Me is an awesome song.
Yes, I mean, Arden, I think, is just one of the best villains they've done. I think a lot of that is because Arden is Darren DePaul's voice performances. Arden is just absolutely fantastic. He's just this playful, charming trickster character who's just brilliant.
Right.
I mean, it's like he voices J. Jonah Jameson in the recent Spider-Man game. And it's just like, and he's doing J. Jonah Jameson as Alex Jones. As much as obviously Alex Jones is a revealed figure, it's like, yeah, he's this conspiracy theorist blogging on the internet. It's just like, yeah, that's exactly how they should do J. Jonah Jameson these days.
Right.
It's fucking brilliant.
We love Arden. I would talk about him more, but we did have a podcast on him before, and it's just too much. Anyways, I'm going to end it with a question for you guys and also the chat. Tell us what you think about this game. Tell us if you want to read the book. Tell us your thoughts. And my last question to you guys was, who was your favorite character in this game? Because even if you did not play it, you probably have a favorite character. I'm not going to start with myself because I actually need to think about it. So, Doctor, who was your favorite character?
My favorite character was Cindy.
Oh, yeah, Cindy! Did I tell you guys I went into the nerd store down the street from me and they had a Cindy figure for like $200?
Yes.
I almost got it today. I went in to look at it again. I was literally like staring at it and Sam was like, "Are you a lesbian?" And I'm like, "Maybe." He was like,
I mean, for Cindy, yeah.
Yeah. Shadow, who is your favorite character if you have one?
Pass. My favorite character is the car.
Oh, so I was going to talk about that, Doctor. Real quick.
Flying Regalia.
Oh, we love the Regalia. Doctor, do you have the Regalia mount in 14?
Of course I do.
Hell yeah, I love that mount. It flies. It's great. I love that mount. That's like
4-seater.
Oh, it's a 4-seater too.
Yep.
One of the things that I mentioned earlier was the Piteos dungeon, which is the post-game dungeon. Requires the flying Regalia, and there's this tiny little stretch.
Oh yeah,
where
I've
you
seen
have
it.
to land the Regalia perfectly, otherwise you crash it and get a game over.
Yep, I've seen that. And
Can I take a retake on that?
Yeah,
I do have an actual answer that's not a cop-out.
Yeah.
My favorite character is not actually a character of Final Fantasy 15, is Nomura.
Oh. Good one. Why?
Because he made the game, and then, I don't know, Kingdom Hearts, and he's just
Yeah,
really good.
He is.
I mean, some people in chat were saying he's the GOAT, and I'm just like, I don't know if I would say the GOAT, but he definitely, like, I'm glad he has contributed to gaming, the games that he has.
Yeah. By the way, chat, please tell us your favorite characters. I'm going to read them out when we're done. Vanessa, who's your favorite character?
Gladio.
Oh, hashtag daddy. I love him. I love him so much. Drowned, who's your favorite character?
Arden, closely followed by Ignis.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay, mine is Gladio, and you want to know why? That speech he gave about cupped noodles really spoke to me when I was 21. Or 22, I think I was when the game came out.
Oh,
When I was in my last year of university and he is giving this speech about cup noodles and how good they are, I was literally like, you have made my pussy so wet. Like, I cannot even, like...
and, I was thinking I won't mention the Cindy story I can think of on grounds of taste, but yeah.
Wait, what is the story? Sorry, go on.
I don't think I should. Well, I'm just going to say is, but perhaps Nikki Benz wasn't the best choice for Cindy.
Like the voice actress?
Not a voice actress.
Wait, who was it?
I
Sorry.
can fully detail this off. Like, it's possible that certain companies might have done parodies of certain things to do with Final Fantasy or video games.
Wait, was she the voice actress? I'm sorry, I got...
No.
No, who was she? I'm sorry, I'm not sure.
I'm maybe skirt around the fact that I'm talking about a porn parody here.
Oh, I didn't know there was a porn parody. There's a porn parody for this? Okay, because I was like, what are you talking about? The voice actress? Like, I did not know there was a porn parody. I need to look it up.
Oh, there's a porn for everything.
I know, but I didn't think Final Fantasy made the cut with that, like...
No, it's an inherent rule. If it exists, there is porn of it.
That's true. Oh, you're fucking right. Damn. Oh, Drowned, only you would know that. Like, no, I'm just kidding. You guys probably know it, and I just am the only one who doesn't. But that's it, guys. That was a lot. Chiji says Aranea. Or no, sorry.
Aranea was really good. Yeah,
Aranea was good. We did not get enough of Aranea.
Of the main four, I don't dislike any of them. I was repeatedly taking the piss out of Prompto when I was streaming it. But, Prompto has some of the best lines in the game.
Oh, yeah. And his DLC's the best.
Oh, I love the voice actor for Prompto. He's so cute. Prompto's my cinnamon.
Right, so have you seen the video of the four of them playing it?
No.
Right, there is. It's not a great video. It's not very well edited either. There is a video, I can find the link for it, of four voice actors basically got together and played the game. And
That's awesome.
it's only about 10 minutes or something. It's quite funny, even if it's just a bit not great quality.
Yes, I did too with the Discord. I'd love to watch that. Yeah, but...
Yeah, agree, Gigi. It's the worst. I didn't like Prompto.
You guys didn't like. I mean, I don't want to keep going, but like, Promptos was my favorite. Because anyways, we need to wrap it up. We've been over an hour. We're almost at an hour and a half now. So we could go on forever about this game. I'm really glad we did this because this is a very, in my opinion, a controversial Final Fantasy game. You either love it, you hate it, or you're in the middle. Everyone has their own opinion about it. But next week, we don't really have many announcements. I forgot about movie week this week. I'm a piece of shit. Also, my dissertation's due in a week, so forgive me for my spaciness. We will be watching Princess Mononoke because I forgot this week. So come join our Discord if you have not. Let me... Sorry. Discord. Yeah, come to our Discord. We're going to watch Princess Mononoke. We have lots of conversations. We do have kind of our subject next week. I don't want to say it yet because we haven't decided, but we were just kind of talking about it. So we will be back next week, and I hope you guys all come. Thank you for listening to us, and I love you all. Any closing remarks?
Never forget about Zach.
Oh, fuck you. I'm so mad you brought that up. Just whatever. Fuck. I know. All right, wear a mask, everyone. Please stay safe. This shit is horrible.
Zach would wear a mask.
Zach would wear a
Zach
mask.
would totally wear a mask because he's not a little bitch.
Oh, he would take it off and give it Cloud and then like get knifed to death or something.
Nah, Cloud would.
That's true.
Zach would be the person that has a mask but also has a pack of masks for everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He would
Yeah.
have extras.
Mm-hmm. All right.
He'd be like, it's a soldier's duty to carry masks for people.
Exactly.
It's not honorable to not wear your mask.
Exactly. And he'd yell at those people that weren't. He'd be like, yo! So anyways, all right. I love you all. Goodbye. Wear a mask. Stay safe.